Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of GLP's 10 out of 10. And today we have with us Manny Treeson, or Manny, as he's known. Based in Los Angeles, Manny is a founding partner and principal at NYX Design. With an MFA in lighting design from Carnegie Mellon University, Manny's career started out in theatre and live television, where he's designed projects for ESPN, NBC, the History Channel, BET, and the Disney Channel, amongst many more. Since then, though, his career has taken a distinct turn towards the world of live special events. He's worked with Microsoft for the last 14 years, launching a multitude of products and presentations. He's also designed keynote events for a large number of technology companies, including RSA, Amazon Web Services, Yahoo, and more. Manny's also been responsible for the design of numerous film premieres, including Shark Tale in Venice, Fantasia 2000 in London, New York, and Tokyo, and the largest Hollywood film premiere in history with Star Wars: The Force Awakens, that took over the entire city block and had celebrities and guests split into 3 different movie theaters, the El Capitan, the Kodak, and Mann's Chinese Theater, for simultaneous viewing. An absolute phenomenal event, and I'm sure many of you have probably seen the footage at the time. In 2010, Manny was honored with the Redden Award for Excellence in Corporate Event Lighting, and he's also a member of the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Welcome, Manny Treeson.
Well, it's great to be here, Mark.
Fantastic to see you. All right, so we have our 10 questions for you. So let's try and kick it off with the first one. So as we mentioned, you've done a fantastic number of events and shows and styles in different genres all around the world. But going back to the beginning, what was your first show as a designer?
First show as a designer, you do a whole bunch of things in college and kind of work your way through. But I think my first really significant professional show was actually kickoff show for the Super Bowl. I'd moved to LA right out of school. Okay. And I had fallen in with a group at a downtown venue, and the Super Bowl was in Pasadena that winter. So within a few months of living in LA, through the way of being in the right place at the right time, which is so often the tale for anyone. Someone came to me and said, "We're doing a kickoff event for this whole Super Bowl weekend across all of Southern California. We're doing it here at this, this venue super well. Would you mind designing this sort of musical event that's going to happen in this big outdoor water court down in the middle of downtown LA venue?" So I think they called it Kickoff Friday or something like that for the Super Bowl. It was super fun.
What a fantastic opportunity.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Great one to start the resume off with.
It's not bad, is it?
So we mentioned that of course, the variety of events, the variety of venues, the variety of locations all around the world that you've traveled to. I'm sure that whilst there's been some massive successes, there's probably been a few occasions where it didn't quite go according to plan. So do you have any particular kind of spinal tap moments that you're able to share with us?
I had this one event I was doing that was actually for Rob Reiner. It was like a night saluting Rob Reiner. And it was kind of a roast. Billy Crystal hosted it. Some of the funniest stuff I ever heard in my life was said that night in that room. The lighting design part of it that was sort of a swing and a miss for sure is we were having Spinal Tap play at the end of the night. That was the big surprise, that the Spinal Tap boys were actually going to play. And I think it was the morning that we're putting up some stuff the night before the show. And I come in, and the scenic guy was not a normal television scenic designer. He was more a little bit more, I'll just bring a bunch of stuff and make it work in the room kind of guy. Very nice, but not really one for measuring. So we walk in, and the stage is maybe this far too full. So the truss was going to be straight through the roof of the Beverly Hilton. Can't really build scenery then bigger than your room. He goes, "Oh, I think I know what to do." And then he literally opened up a Makita, that brilliant blue Makita case, opens up this Makita case, and pulls out a Sawzall. And he goes right to the stage decks and cuts out 1-foot square holes. And we dropped the truss through he built me like 6 holes in his deck. And I dropped it down. And we actually had to add some, then we were too short. But then we got them up higher. We did some extension pipes, MacGyver did the rest of the way to the ceiling.
That's a great story. Great story. So our third question, what's the best piece of advice that anyone has ever given you, either professionally or otherwise?
Well, it actually it's a personal piece of advice and it was a professional piece of advice. And it basically boiled down to this. Life and our industry in general is about working with other human beings. When you're an assistant designer, when I came up, I was an assistant for a long time. And you sit at a tech table in a theater and you're next to the designer, the programmer, and you're tracking, doing this back in the days, you used to do tracking sheets and all that. But the point is, you're in close confines with people for 12 to 14 hours a day, 6-7 days a week. If you don't get along, nothing else works. Even if you have an idea, there's people, and I've been guilty of this certainly, where you have an idea in your head and you're just driving towards the design idea or the thing you want to do, and you get that tunnel vision. And somehow you can't hear, when you're driving that hard, you can't hear everything else going on around you. Truth is, no one wants to hang out with that human being. Not for 14 hours a day, and not for project after project after project. So it's a piece of professional advice, but also as a personal advice, it's understanding not only do you have to listen and respond and collaborate and work together, but you also need to just realize you need to laugh.
Fantastic. Excellent advice. Excellent advice. Be nice, be collaborative, just be jolly, just be around.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Professionally, what would you say is your proudest achievement so far?
I think my proudest achievement is I do a lot of work for Microsoft and specifically for Xbox. And I do their, consumer facing, what I like to call corporate spectacular. It's a live television show. It's the rollout of all the new games. It's lots of effects and stuff and dynamic videos and, immersive lighting in the room and all that. And it's super fun project, and I've been doing it for a long time. But what I'm proudest of professionally is that I've been on this journey with this particular client for the whole time with the same basic group of people that we've been doing the show with for more than a decade. Started doing it in 2006. So that's, 14, 15 years at this point. And the thing is, I'm proudest of that journey. I can point to this show or that show where we did a thing that I really liked.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all great. I liked all the shows we've done, but the point is, the people I do it with, it almost goes back to that last thing we're talking about. I just love them all. And I love the fact that we've just grown the show, and every year we do this show, we do it in a different way. I don't think we've ever done the same show year after year because of the nature of what Xbox is. But we're on this journey where, we're making these kind of moments together, and I'm super proud of that team and that journey.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Congratulations. What do you normally do in your downtime when you're not away doing some of these shows? And, we're not normally under lockdown, of course, but sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say I'm a real nature person. Okay. I love to hike. I love to kayak. I cycle. One of my main form of exercising is cycling. I'm a road cyclist. My wife and I really like to, vacation, not in big cities. We like to go somewhere really remote or relatively remote. And we love the Central Coast of California, but because we can do all those things there. Right. But I just like to be, so much of our life is hyper attention focus. When you're lighting a show, when you're working on a big production, you have to sweat all these details. You have to think about it constantly. What is the key light looking out like in camera? What's it looking like in the room? How bright is the back? The list is endless. We all do it. Everyone that does this job. And it's just like there's constant visual input and you're making decisions constantly. And that's the job. And that's great. When I don't do that, I like to really go the other way. Right. I like to simply be somewhere and be, I like to be present and experience a place as opposed to constantly personally interacting with it and manipulating it. Because what we do for work is manipulate environments. Yes. So what I would rather do is have the environment wash over me and be within that. Right. Fascinating. There we go. Brilliant. We mentioned before that you've worked obviously around the world in lots of different places, lots of different venues. Do you have a particular venue that you like more than anywhere else?
I have a super fondness for Red Rocks in Colorado outside of Denver.
Yep.
Not because it's easy, because it's not. Anyone that's worked there knows it's not an easy room. But it's a special place.
Right.
You know, it's the way the rocks come on either side of it, the way the backstage is basically I mean, they just built this perfect amphitheater into this natural bowl. So for me, I think Red Rocks is a pretty spectacular space on this earth, especially to see music.
Great. It is absolutely spectacular. Yeah, a brilliant choice, really is. Obviously we mentioned that we've been in lockdown, in and out of different versions of lockdown for a little while. Now, if you were only able to have one musical artist or one album with you to listen to during an extended lockdown, who would that be?
An album I come back to, the album I always come back to, I think Peter Gabriel's So is a masterwork album. I've been a fan of Peter Gabriel since early Genesis days. Early Lamb Lifestyle on Broadway is amazing. He'd always done these concept albums. And I think his fascination with world music really speaks to me. I just love how he spent his whole career finding other sounds, other kinds of percussion, other outside the Western experience and bringing it into Western popular music. Yes. I find that super compelling.
Yeah, fascinating. Brilliant. Peter Gabriel it is then. Right. Now, if you were able to spin back time and go and visit the teenage Manny Treeson, and you could offer him one piece of advice, what would that be?
As a teenager, probably not this dissimilar to how I am now. I'm just older, and because I'm older, I'm slower. I was a lot like a pinball. I was just bouncing off the walls. I was I was unrestrained. And if I gave myself any advice, it would be to take a moment, first breathe, then think, then speak.
Right.
Because I don't think I did it in that order back then, no.
That's right. The order is important. All three things are important. The order
is
most important. Okay, so our next question, if you were able to sit down for a cup of coffee with somebody, anybody at all, could be living, could be past, who would that be?
My grandmother.
Okay.
Because I never knew my grandmother. I mean, it's very personal. So, I mean, really both of my grandparents, it's a connection that, you know, when you're born after your parents have passed, you hear stories, you see pictures, you do all those things, but never having them, and having tons of friends that have their whole lives in which they have 2 or 3 generation of people that extended families like that. I didn't grow up in that, and I'm not complaining. I want to be clear. I'm not, you know, it's not woe is me, but I didn't have that, so it's something I wish I had.
Right. So go and find out about that history within your family, and
and just have that extended connection.
Yeah. And just like that, we're actually already up to our final question.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's right. It all seems to go past so quickly. So
it does.
This is one of my favorites. So once we're finished with the interview, your phone's going to ring, and it's going to be Team USA, and they're going to call you up for the Olympics. It's your time to shine for America. Now, they could be calling you up for either the Summer Games or the Winter Games. But the question is, what's the sport they're calling you up for? What are you going to have a go at?
Well, as I said earlier, I do love the cycle. So I'd love to, you know, and, you know, you grow up watching your heroes, you know, if you like sport. And, I watch a lot of cycling as well as doing it. So yeah, I would love to do road cycling in the alternate universe, which that was true, because anyone that knows me would know I may enjoy doing it, but I'm not the most athletic human being on the face of the
earth. As long as you participate, that's the important part, right? Isn't that part of the Olympics motto? It's participation.
Yeah. So. That's right. Yeah, I'm more likely to be the road cyclist from Guam than I would be from, like a powerhouse nation like England. Like everyone finishes, it's all done. Right. They're starting to, roll up the banners and
and then he comes. Well, as long as you make it before the closing ceremony of the Olympics, that
it's fine, right?
You still get a participation piece of paper, I'm sure. So You were still
Yes.
there. There we are. Fantastic. We'll take cycling. Manny, this has been fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing, obviously, details about your work. Thanks for finding some time for us as well. Yeah, it's just absolutely brilliant to have the conversation with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me. This was a delight.
Great. I look forward to catching up with you soon. But until then, stay safe, stay well, and yeah, we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.